Nathan stepped off the rickety bus with a mix of excitement and nervousness. Lagos was unlike anything he had ever experienced. Coming from his quiet village, the noise, the people, and the busy streets overwhelmed him. He clutched his small bag, trying to navigate the chaos. He had come to stay with his uncle, the one relative who had left the village years ago to find success in the city. But after trying to call him multiple times with no response, Nathan felt lost. His excitement turned to worry. He stood on the side of the road, uncertain of what to do next. The city felt massive, and the people around him seemed too busy to notice his confusion. For the first time since leaving the village, doubt crept into his mind. Was coming to Lagos a mistake? How would he find his uncle in this vast city? As Nathan stood in the middle of the bustling city, a sleek, black car approached the estate gate nearby. It caught his attention. The driver, a woman with a calm, focused face, was gesturing at the security guard. Nathan saw his chance. Without thinking much, he rushed toward the car. "Excuse me, ma'am," he called out, his voice shaky with uncertainty. The woman turned, startled but composed. Her name was Zanab, a confident and successful young woman living in Lagos. Beside her was her friend, Aisha, who was animatedly discussing something. "Please, I'm Nathan. I've come to Lagos to see my uncle, but I can't reach him. Could you help me? I just need a place to stay for the night, I promise," Nathan pleaded. Zanab hesitated. Aisha immediately objected, warning her friend not to trust strangers. But something about Nathan's desperation softened Zanab's heart. Zanab's friend, Aisha, didn't like the idea of letting Nathan stay for even one night. "Zanab, this is Lagos. You can't just invite strangers into your home," Aisha argued, her voice filled with suspicion. But Zanab felt differently. She couldn't shake the feeling that Nathan was genuinely in need. His eyes told a story of worry and helplessness. Despite Aisha's protests, Zanab made a decision. "It's just one night," she said softly. "Come on, get in." Nathan's face lit up with relief as he climbed into the back seat. He couldn't believe his luck. The drive to Zanab's house was silent except for Aisha's disapproving looks. When they arrived at her home, Nathan was stunned. It was a modern, beautifully furnished apartment, far different from the simplicity of his village home. Zanab showed him the guest room, and with a kind smile, left him to settle in for the night. The next morning, Nathan woke up early and immediately tried calling his uncle again. He dialed the number several times, but there was still no answer. As each attempt failed, his frustration grew. He didn't want to impose on Zanab for longer than necessary, but without his uncle, he had nowhere else to go. Zanab noticed Nathan's efforts. Though she didn't say anything, she could tell he was trying to sort things out. Days passed, and Nathan still couldn't reach his uncle. He tried not to be a burden, keeping to himself and avoiding causing any trouble. But Zanab's patience was slowly wearing thin. She didn't know how much longer she could host him. Nathan felt trapped. He knew he had to find a solution soon, but the more he tried to contact his uncle, the more unreachable he seemed. After a week of hosting Nathan, Zanab's patience finally reached its breaking point. She had been kind enough to offer him a place to stay, but now, she was feeling taken advantage of. One evening, while they were both sitting in the living room, Zanab couldn't hold back her frustration any longer. "Nathan, you said you'd only stay for one night. It's been a week, and I haven't seen any progress. You need to leave," she said firmly, crossing her arms. Nathan's heart sank. He knew this moment would come, but he hadn't expected it to be so soon. "I'm sorry," he said quietly, his voice filled with remorse. "I've been trying to reach my uncle, but I'll leave tomorrow, I promise." Zanab raised an eyebrow, unconvinced. Nathan quickly added, "I can help around the house. I'll do anything, clean, cook, even wash your clothes." Zanab was caught off guard by Nathan's offer. She had never had anyone, especially a guest, offer to do her chores. At first, she wanted to refuse him, insisting that he leave as planned. But as she looked into his eyes, she saw something deeper: fear, desperation, and sincerity. Nathan wasn't just looking for a free stay. He truly had nowhere else to go. Zanab sighed, her initial resolve softening. "All right," she said reluctantly, "you can stay a little longer. But this isn't about the chores. Just try to sort things out with your uncle soon, okay?" Nathan nodded eagerly, his face lighting up with gratitude. From that moment on, he worked tirelessly around the house. He cooked, cleaned, and even did laundry without complaint. Zanab began to notice his diligence, and slowly, her frustration faded as she grew more comfortable with his presence. As the days turned into weeks, Nathan and Zanab began spending more time together. Initially, they kept to themselves, but soon, conversations started to flow naturally. Nathan told stories about his village, its calm beauty, the traditions, and the simple way of life. Zanab, in turn, shared her struggles of building a career in Lagos, the challenges of balancing work and life, and how the city often felt isolating despite its constant activity. Nathan's humility and hard work slowly broke down the walls Zanab had built around herself. She had always been cautious of people's intentions, especially in Lagos, where trust could be fragile. But Nathan was different. He didn't expect anything from her except kindness. They began laughing more, sharing meals, and spending evenings together, talking about their dreams. The connection between them grew stronger with each passing day. One evening, after a long day, Nathan and Zanab found themselves sitting together on the couch. It had become a familiar routine. Nathan would clean up after dinner, and they would talk late into the night. But tonight felt different. As they sat in comfortable silence, Zanab glanced at Nathan, her heart suddenly racing. "You know," she began softly, "when I first met you, I thought you were just another person trying to take advantage of me." Nathan chuckled, understanding where she was coming from. "I don't blame you," he said with a smile. "Lagos is tough." Their eyes met, and for a brief moment, the world seemed to stop. Zanab quickly looked away, her pulse quickening. She hadn't expected to feel this way. There was something about Nathan's presence that made her feel safe, seen, and understood. As time passed, Nathan finally managed to get in touch with his uncle. The older man had been away on a business trip and was now back in Lagos, ready to welcome Nathan. But something had changed. Nathan no longer felt the urgency to leave. His connection with Zanab had deepened, and the thought of leaving her house now filled him with uncertainty. One evening, after dinner, Nathan decided to speak up. "Zanab," he began, his voice steady, "my uncle is back. I can go stay with him now." Zanab's heart skipped a beat. She hadn't expected Nathan to say that. She had grown so used to having him around that the thought of him leaving felt strange, almost wrong. "Do you want to leave?" she asked, her voice quieter than usual. Nathan hesitated, unsure of what to say next. Nathan's heart raced as he stood before Zanab, unsure of how to answer her question. Did he want to leave? The truth was, he didn't. Over the past weeks, he had come to care deeply for her. It wasn't just about having a roof over his head anymore, it was about Zanab. "I don't want to stay just because of your kindness," he admitted, his voice trembling slightly. "I want to stay because of you." Zanab looked up, surprised by his honesty. Her eyes softened as she searched his face for any hint of insincerity, but all she found was the same genuine person who had asked her for help that first night. Slowly, a small smile spread across her lips. I want you to stay too," she whispered. And in that moment, what began as a chance meeting in Lagos blossomed into a love neither of them had expected.